Hi, I'm Gail Sabo. I'm the program chair for the Hodges IDS program, and I may or may not be your instructor for this course. However, what I have done is put together some video highlights of some things that you can expect for this course and some chapter by chapter highlights. So while we do strongly encourage you to read your chapters, read your PowerPoints, use all the tools and resources that we put in that shell for you, those are really important. I also wanted to give you a couple of those highlights that we might talk about if you were taking the class in person, and that we would be able to kind of spend more time, addressing. So touching on those highlights sometimes kind of helps us to hear the message as well as to read the message, and sometimes that really drives it home. So I just wanted to introduce that, and you'll know that throughout these chapters you'll see a couple of different highlights talking about the things I really want you to get from those chapters or from these lessons. They're not always in the chapters. So the first one is section 1, and in section 1 of your textbook, what they're really talking about is how you get to know yourself. What's really important is if you're going to be looking at a career and a job and moving forward, the first thing to know is yourself. I'm sure you've heard the saying that if you find the right career, you'll never work a day in your life. We want you to find the career that is right for you. And part of that comes with knowing yourself and who you are. And knowing your talents, knowing your interests, knowing your abilities. I may really, really, really like football. It may be the most important thing in the world to me, and I live for football. But I am never going to make it to the national leagues as a football player. It's not going to happen. It just isn't. What can I do? What can I do and still stay involved in football? What would use those talents that I really have? That's what I need to be discovering. Should I be selling merchandise that's around football or has to do with football? Should I be in reporting? And should I be coaching? Should I be in medical services? What should I be doing so I can stay touched with what's really important to me but still work within the talents that I have? So for each of you, your careers are going to be different. And this class doesn't mean that we have to define your career, just that we can teach you some tips so that you can have the career success you're looking for. And it starts with knowing yourself. And remember, the first step is knowing that you're preparing for your career. You're not just preparing for this next job, you're preparing for your whole career. So what is that going to look like later? So sometimes you start off with a job that's not where you're going to end. Hopefully it's not where you're going to end. Hopefully it's just building the skills and the networking and the resources and the abilities, the certifications, the things that you need for that next step. So keep that in mind. It's also important that you be really honest with yourself. Who am I? What are my talents and my skills? What realistically am I able to do? Again, I can't play football, not in a national league, not in my backyard. That's the reality. And so, but there are so many talents I bring to the table. So really touching base, and we're going to take you through some steps and some tools and some great stuff in this course to help you with that. But what are the things that I do bring to the table that are part of what I can be and what I can use to help generate and move me forward? That's really important. Remember that career planning is always a process. It's always being reevaluated. You never know when you're going to get that next big break or that next opportunity. And every time you take that next step is when you want to look at, from here, then what? What are the new skills I need for that next step or the next place I'm going to be going? This is a process. It takes a lifetime. You're not going to get it right in a class, but you are going to understand the process and how to move yourself forward. And that's what we hope for you. One of the important things too is not only to look at yourself, but find those people that are really important to you. Who are your mentors, your professionals that are around you, your loved ones, your friends, your peers? Who can give you some insights as to what you bring to the table? Ask them, what's great about me? What are my talents? What do you think I should be? You have any ideas? Or ask them, I'm really, really, really want to do something with football in my life, but I'm not a good football player. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any thoughts? Google it. Talk it up. Network. Don't rely just on the thoughts that you have, but on the people around you that care about you and want to see the best for you. So start talking up that career. You ever hear the saying, fake it till you make it? Start talking about what you want to be and how you're going to get there, and see what insights those around you will offer. And don't be afraid to ask. Ask peers, ask other professionals in the field what they suggest. Let's get started now on what tomorrow is going to bring. One of the things that we talk about in class in this chapter 2 is understanding the diversity that takes place in the workplace. So your book will talk about some different generations that we're all going to deal with in the workplace, and how they view the world and how they view careers and how they view work may be very, very different. The traditionalist, if you see them in the workplace, they typically were born between 1900 and 1945. So we don't see so many of them in the workplace anymore, but they still may be in some older executive positions. And their lives were highlighted by some really important themes, such as World War I, the Great Depression, the Korean War, and in fact 50% of all traditionalist males had served at some point in their time in the military. When you work with a traditionalist, they're very much old school. They're very, very loyal. They believe in a chain of command, and they are very loyal to that top-down type of management, which is not necessarily what we see in some of the more modern or newer generations. Your baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. And they grew up in an era of commerce, where there was a lot more sales and financial exchanges. They have more of a mentality that they need to kind of keep up with the Joneses. And electronics really started to come on board during their generation. Televisions and the beginning and emergence of things like computers that they're going to be introduced to. So this generation is generally considered pretty optimistic. Then we have our Generation Xers. They were born between 1965 and 1980. This generation has a huge growth in electronics, so you're going to see a much different adaptation of them into the workplace. But involved in that as well is they grew up in a community of violence. Typically, we saw an increase of violence, an increase of drug use, an increase of domestic violence, an increase of divorce during this era. These guys tend to work long and hard hours, but they do appreciate their flexibility, and they like to be in control of their own lives and what's happening for them. And finally, we have the millennials, and those guys were born between 1981 and 1999. They like advanced technology. They know how to use all the advanced technology. They're quick to it. It makes sense to them. It's easy for them. It comes to them easily. They came at a time where the economic downturn was part of their generation, and sometimes they may feel a little bit unsafe as to what's going to happen next, a little bit insecure, but they are more empowered than other generations because they know where they can get those resources from, and very quickly. This group is less into authority, but more into collaboration. Let's be a team. Let's work together. How do we collaborate? So kind of understanding who you're working with, who you're interviewing for, what is the culture of that organization, helps you figure out better where you might fit. And just because you were born in a certain generation doesn't mean you didn't pick up some of those skills from other generations. But taking that insight forward will help you both with obtaining a career, but satisfaction with that career. Generally speaking, today we are flattening the workplace. It's more of a horizontal or communication of collaboration than it's ever been. In the past, we saw downward communication, but now we're seeing so much more lateral communication, and a lot of that is tied to technology and what it brings. Key skills that we need in the workplace of today are going to be the ability to read, understanding things like globalization and entrepreneurship, and creative thinking, innovation. Technology, broad thinking, and good communication skills. And I'll tell you what, it's not an accident that many of those things are in the IDS core. That's by design. Not only are we going to teach you how to pursue your career, but we're going to build those skills within the core so that you have the success that you're looking for. Remember that you're looking for a career versus a job. A job is a temporary thing that you're going to be using to build skills or to get to the next step. A career is where you want to land and where you want to end. You're going to want to know yourself, know your talents, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and know your limitations. Those are some great tips. Come back, I'll give you some more. I look forward to seeing you soon.